This is a linked video in chat. It's called I Hate Big Pharma Except for Pfizer. I'm going to debunk it. Let's go.
My name is Dustin, and I hate big pharmaceutical companies, except for Pfizer. You know, I did go to Occupy Wall Street. Now I'm a little more concerned with occupying a space in my tattoo sleeve with my new Pfizer tat.
Pfizer.
You Pfizer? You?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good? Yeah? Oh, yeah, I watched the Martin Shkreli doc and it pissed me off what he did raising those prices. What an ethical company does is take money from the government to make the product, have the government force people to buy the product, get the government to pay for your commercials, then print money to subsidize it. If you asked me a couple years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I'd be wearing a big pharmaceutical company's t-shirt, but you know, Pfizer's just different, you know what I mean? They're not like other companies. So they had to play a couple dollars back in the day for fraudulent marketing. Yeah, it's called faking it till you make it. Obviously their haters are coming out of the woodworks now that they're on top. Yeah, my pronouns are Pfizer. I'd say about 50% of my identity is that I hate pharmaceutical companies and 50% of my identity is that I love Pfizer. Maybe I'd get Pfizer shaved to my head, sort of like black guys do with Nike. Do not get me started on fast food corporations unless you got a minute. Companies like McDonald's won't even pay people a living wage. You know, whereas a real company like you-know-who paid some of their employees like Alan Borla about $21 million last year. So yeah, take notes, McDonald's. $21 million for one employee. They didn't have to do that. You a Pfizer guy or?
Yeah, I already got Pfizer, man, yeah.
Pfizer?
I got the booster too.
Are you gonna get a second or third booster or just the one?
No, I'm gonna continue to roll up.
You might do the fourth? I'm hoping to get to 5.
Yeah.
Respect, bro.
All right, man, good.
I'm sort of like a feel the burn guy, and I know Bernie Sanders said we need to end the greed of big pharma, and I do agree with them that we need to end the greed of 99.9999999% of big pharma. You know, the big banks, they're against you. If they had any of your own interest at heart, the S&P 500 would just be Pfizer 500 times. Pfizer should team up with Nike, who I hate, to make a sneaker. Bezos! Yeah, the only way that I would be caught dead with a Tesla is if Pfizer acquired the company. 10 things big pharma doesn't want you to know. I mean, I'll post this after I scan through it to make sure there's nothing derogatory about my guys in there. Yeah, I wish the CEO of Goldman Sachs was right here, right now. We'd throw hands. I just retweeted an article about why big pharma's bad and then put Pfizer's logo on my Twitter handle.
Okay. Click the wrong... I clicked one thing, that's still in my fucking chat. Oh well. I will continue where we left off, right? So this was obviously fucking stupid, right? Everyone can understand why this is done, but I'm gonna, just in case anyone hasn't realised why this is stupid, I'm gonna want to go to one key issue here. So what this is specifically doing here is it's trying to paint progressive people who disagree with the corporate stranglehold on the American pharmaceutical market and the American healthcare market, those people as hypocrites, trying to paint them as hypocrites for thinking that government acquired large amounts of Pfizer vaccine should then be given to people and that they're somehow doing the right thing. Now, first of all, this is a straw man. I have seen I repeat, absolutely zero progressives saying that Pfizer is a brilliant company in any way for what they've been doing, right? First of all, they're not the only company that's made a bunch of vaccines, right? So there are the vaccines that are available. You can get Moderna, you can get Pfizer, you can get AstraZeneca, you can get Janssen, you can get, there's also plenty of other ones like Novavax and Sinovax and Sputnik and the one that Cuba's just made. And then there's the Indian version of AstraZeneca as well, right? So no one's like a cheerleader for Pfizer. But the apparent hypocrisy is that, so for example, they said in the video that essentially Pfizer used public money to produce it, is being given public money to then buy the products back off them, and the money was from the Federal Reserve, which increases inflation, right? Now this is bad. Now it is bad. It is bad, and it is completely pointless to do this when you could just do it in-house. There are plenty of countries that produce things in-house, for example, China, where the Sinovac, is it Sinovac, the one from China, I believe? That was all developed with public money and then distributed publicly from those funds, rather than paid for in part by government funding, and then Pfizer then reaps some kind of then monetary reward from that going forward. Now, the reason why people want high vaccine take-up is because it's fucking good. Because high vaccine take-up is the way in which we're going to get out of the fact that there's a fucking pandemic. We can stop coronavirus using vaccines. It is nothing to do with the procurement policy of the government with regards to Pfizer or with regards to AstraZeneca or with regards to Moderna or whatever, what have you, right? That's completely abstracted from the reason why that we think the vaccines are. Okay? Second of all, the second point is that, yes, people who support Bernie Sanders, like whoever they're parodying in this video, are critical of the corporate policies that get perpetuated by basically every large corporation like McDonald's, etc., that were brought up in this video, and they also think that it's bad that the CEO of Pfizer got paid a lot of money to take advantage of the pandemic, right? We just want people to get vaccinated whilst we have the system in place at the moment. But they say, well, then how can you trust the vaccines if they're made by a large pharmaceutical corporation? Okay, how about an alternative scenario for you? How about, right, the people who progressives trust with vaccine production are scientists? Okay, I know that's strange to people, that there's more to just a corporation than the financial aspect, but there are people who make vaccines, who've been trained for a very, very long time to be able to do this, who perform their job as a scientist for a wage by these big pharma companies to create a vaccine that works to save people's lives, right? At least with one thing with a profit motive means that if these things didn't save people's lives, people would not buy them, so they would not be employed. Okay, so we all trust the scientists to be able to create the vaccines. What progressives disagree with are the people at the top who make the decisions financially. For example, to not give up the intellectual property of the vaccine. For example, to take public money and then once that's been used to develop the vaccine, then take more public money to then have that bought by the governments to then turn into shareholder profits. This is what we disagree with. There's nothing about being a progressive and being pro-vaccine that is in any way hypocritical based off the fact that the vaccines have been made and produced by large corporations. You can still say that the vaccine is a net good based on the use of value, the marginal utility of the vaccine themselves, whilst also saying that the corporate practices of the vaccine companies are also incredibly bad. Like, we all hate these companies for what they're doing. Like, they're trying to paint it as being pro-vaccine and pro-Pfizer to be in the same position when they just aren't. I just think that instead of having a profit-driven system in the first place, how about we have public health care? What a crazy idea. For example, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which has no intellectual property, was produced by people paid by the government, also by the Oxford University, and then given away for free for then the Indian government to then do things again with that. Like, I don't necessarily agree with vaccine mandates. I'm not sure. I've not made up my decision on that. But the idea that public money should be spent to have vaccines available to be free, that's a good thing based upon the marginal utility of the vaccines themselves. Whether or not large corporations can use their incredibly large market share to then maybe, for example, I don't know, there to be some, let's say, for example, there was some kind of conspiracy or some kind of panic about a certain type of vaccine. The Mayberry, for example, isn't as corporately profitable as well as the Pfizer one might be, so the people get stopped being taken them, for example. So that's a little bit shady, for example. Do you not think? So it's been shown that the needs of corporations should not be, or at least corporate shareholders, should not be put above those of the general population. That's the kind of point that we're looking at here. The scientists that actually make the vaccines in the first place, I'm happy to trust them, right? Happy to trust people whose only real job is to create vaccines that actually work. The monetary incentives at place due to the privatization of this particular field, that is the issue that's being drawn here. There is no hypocrisy in supporting the vaccines as they exist and criticizing the corporate and financial positions held by corporations like Pfizer and Moderna, etc. Incredibly simple. Okay.